Chapter 50. Adam wandered through Augusta Regional Airport. It was small and linear, but was oh so very nice to look at. It reminded him of a country club, though he'd never been to one of those before. He'd seen enough of them on TV. Unfortunately, there was a sewage-like stink in the air. He assumed it came from the fog that surrounded the tiny airport. He rented a car from a German girl with an accent so severe and a voice so shy, he had to ask her to repeat herself several times. He drove down the highway. He'd been here in December for Christmas to visit his mom, so he didn't tell her he was coming. His heart sped up at the thought of seeing Ollie again. Adam was ashamed that it had taken an ominous message from past Ollie to even get him to consider visiting present Ollie. It was noon, but it felt late. Adam drove to his childhood home. This was something he hadn't done for 20 years. It had never occurred to him before. The big tree that once settled in the front yard was gone, and the den where he and Dad had watched Beetlejuice looked to have been turned into a garage. Most notably, the above-ground swimming pool was gone. Adam could see that from the street in front of the house. He still felt ashamed of the way he'd neglected that pool when he was a kid. Unable to stall any longer, he drove down the long street, turned right at the stop sign, and drove a little way until he reached Ollie's house on the right. Adam parked in front of it, got out, and trotted up the steep driveway to the front door. The grass was much too thick to walk through. There were 2 new model cars in the driveway, along with an old white refrigerator just past the carport. He knocked. A tall, shaggy-haired young man answered. Adam recognized him immediately. He was also taken aback by his appearance. Ollie wore baggy clothes and had a cell phone to his ear. Rap music played in the background. For a moment, they just stood there, staring at each other. Finally, Ollie recognized Adam and smiled. "Holy shit," he said, holding the phone away. "Adam Young, you're actually here?" Adam shrugged. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by," he said jokingly. He made sure to keep their eyes locked. He didn't want Ollie to see the shock on his face. "Come in," Ollie said as he backed away. To the person on the phone, he said, "Bitch, I'll call you back." He hung up. "Who was that?" Adam asked. "My mom." Adam laughed before he could stop himself. "Just kidding, it was my boo." Adam looked around and saw a big high-definition TV in the corner along with a large stereo playing the music. A video game was paused on the screen. He and Ollie sat on the couch. "I didn't know if you still lived here, but I decided to take a chance," Adam said. "I'm not going anywhere anytime soon." The house smelled like an assorted mix of potpourri. "You still live in Texas?" Ollie asked, turning down the music with a remote. "Yeah, it's hot over there." "How's your dad and all of them?" "Dad died about 20 years ago," he replied quietly. Ollie nodded. "Sorry to hear about your dad. What happened?" Adam's heart thudded in his ears. He didn't want to talk about it. He and Ollie had drifted apart around that time, so he wasn't surprised that Ollie hadn't known about Dad's death. "Heart attack?" he lied. "It's wild that you suddenly decided to look me up. I just had a dream about you recently." He grew quiet. "Remember that dream I had when we were kids, about me dying in 2017? Adam hadn't prepared for that question. "That's actually why I'm here. I had a dream about that day, and you want to know what's wrong with me?" He waved his hand in front of his face. Adam nodded. "A hard life of drugs and alcohol. It's taken a toll." Now that Ollie had brought it up, Adam assumed he didn't have to pretend anymore. Ollie's skin was dry and cracked in places, with spots all over. "Turns out that dream came true," Ollie went on. All my organs are shutting down. I'll be dead by the end of the year. He'd said it so casually that it was like he'd been talking about the weather. I'm sorry, Ollie. It's okay. I did it to myself. My life was pretty rough as a kid. I lived with my mom and stepdad for a while in the early 90s. He was kind of a bastard. I remember. That was when I was in Connecticut. Was that 1992? Yep. I spent time here and there. Dad got custody of me because Mom didn't even contest it. How's she doing? Adam asked. She's fine. So what are you doing nowadays? Hopefully better than me. I work security at a mall. Not that glamorous. How about you? I do special effects makeup for independent movies. Sweet, Adam yelled. That sounds like the dream. What got you into that? Well, I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies when we were kids, but that didn't stop you from telling me about them. I'm still surprised you were able to predict what Child's Play 3 would be about so perfectly. Ollie narrowed his eyes slyly. How did you do that? I saw the movie eventually, and you were right about everything. Lucky guess. Adam shrugged. Well, you know who else you should be visiting? Karen. Karen? The name came out as a squeak. Adam cleared his throat. Isn't she married or something? Maybe. She was engaged for a minute, but she broke it off. Why? I don't know. You don't keep in touch with her? Adam asked with a grin. Not really. Too much history. He handed Adam a second controller. She talked about you a lot after you moved out of your old house. Are you serious? Yep. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if she broke off her engagement for you. Adam's face burned. Why would she do that? Maybe you two are soulmates. I don't know. Chicks are weird. You wouldn't happen to have her number, would you? Ollie picked up his cell phone and went through his contacts. Adam was almost jealous knowing Ollie had her number. It was an irrational feeling, but it was there.